kind of a coach's viewpoint of this. Do you feel like your team is still fighting for a little bit of respect going
Yeah.
into it? But
You
how so?
I just do in general. I mean, I think that our level of play has gained respect across the conference. Absolutely. I think that there is not a team that looks past us anymore. I don't think that the players that are playing in the conference know Arkansas of the past, in my opinion. So I do think that they expect a good game from us more than anything. But I just do think that in general that our players deserve more credit than they're getting. And so I think that they deserve more respect than they're getting with how they are playing, the numbers they're putting up. And so it's kind of one of those bittersweet days today, to be honest. I'm really, really proud of Gibby and really excited for her. And I'm heartbroken for someone like Hannah Gamble, who absolutely deserves to be on that list. It's not to discredit anybody on that list, but for Hannah Gamble to not be on that list is ridiculous to me.
And I understand where you're coming from there. I was mainly aiming question wise with the big series with Florida coming up. Do you feel like your team could still got something to prove going into that series this weekend?
Yeah, I think this team always feels like they have something to prove. So I think that a team like Florida demands your best game. I think that they know where we're at, but they're not making anything bigger than it is. And so I think that they always go out to gain respect, to prove someone wrong, to, whatever, and just also enjoy the game and play our best level of softball.
I think last year you told us, and even players said they felt like they had a chip on their shoulder. Is that still the case a little bit?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you feel like that with all the experience on this team that should serve them well in a situation like this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is a team that is highly competitive. And so I think that serves them well, not to put in any extra pressure. I think that they want to go out and win the game they're in. That's it. They're just really competitive players that want to win and hate losing. And so I think that's going to serve them just as well as having a chip on their shoulder.
And my last thing is what sticks out to you about this Florida team? Are there one or two things that jump out at you as a coach when you're preparing to play Florida?
Well, I think Florida always plays with a ton of confidence. They always are well coached. I think that they play impeccable defense, and so they make you earn everything that you get. But they always have had this confidence about them that you wish you could bottle up and take with you. But yeah, and I think that although they had a great weekend last week, and I can't imagine they're pleased with the way they played. So I know that they're going to want to clean that up and play better this weekend. So I know we're going to be in for another battle, but it's the SEC. We expect that every weekend.
Thanks, Coach. I'll let somebody else go. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Coach, you talk about the chip. Do you think that's a good thing that they do always have that chip? And, you're always having something to fight for. And that's what these girls, they've done their whole career at Arkansas, opposed to you get to that point where there's nothing really left to fight for and you're kind of get complacent. We've seen it in various sports. So do you think that's good that they always kind of carry that chip on their shoulder?
I do. I was on a team that had that too. So I just think when you have that little extra motivation beyond just being highly competitive, I think that it's a healthy level of chip, Porter. But it's not too much. It's not dominating, but it's just always there, and it's can be a driving force when when you need it or when you want to tap into it. But I do think that where that was really prominent in years past, I think it's just there, and it's just a little reminder of hey, some people count us out, or some people aren't, and so I think it's just another little added benefit to a highly competitive group.
Well, and as we're seeing, it's like you're always cool, calm, collected, but it's like if you feel like the team's been slighted or, anybody outside of yourself is slighted, we see that kind of fire that comes out. So is that good that, people don't take you lightly just as much as they might take the team lightly?
Well, I hope that people don't take me lightly. Um, yeah, I think this group we're protective of each other. And I think that's the thing that we focus on more than anything. We don't do any of this for anybody's praise outside our circle. We do this for each other. And and although these awards or whatever the case may be, I'm using that as an example. I know that's not just the question, but although those are an example of an accomplishment, we don't really care about that. We care about our circle, and we care about what we think about ourselves and each other, and how we're going to fight for each other. And that's it. If someone takes us lightly, then shame on them.
And I'll end it on this. I asked Danielle the same question. The way game 2 went and the way you bounced back in game 3, did you think that kind of did put the league on notice of where you're at, that you can bounce back and you took the loss, but yet you come back and run ruled up the very next game?
Well, I think it showed them a couple things. I think that it showed them that, we can have off days. I think we've shown that we are a very good softball team. I think we've also shown that there's days where it doesn't all work out. And so I think that's the game. But I also okay, I was talking to my friend on Sunday after we won, and she goes, "Man, you guys do not like to lose, do you?" And I go, "No, we don't. Why do you say that?" And she goes, "You kicked him in the teeth today." And it was like, yeah, this team doesn't like to lose. And this team responds, and I think it shows a lot of character. That's the best example I can give you, is that this team is really, really talented. But this team has a lot of fight and has a lot of pride. And so when we don't have our best day, when we have someone that's counting us out, this team has each other's backs, and they protect each other, and they go to battle. And that's the thing that I've really liked to see over the course of this year.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, I have just a question about your offense. Hi, I'm Christina. I'm from a newspaper in Fort Smith. This is my first softball Zoom. But
Awesome. Nice
anyway, I wanted to know about just kind of the sort of dramatic turnaround in this offense specifically from last year, and just kind of the crazy numbers that, Danielle specifically is putting up, but also this offense as a whole. What's been kind of the key to that stellar offense?
Well, I think that there's a very seasoned group. I think it's a group that knows exactly who they are. I think it's a group that feeds off of each other. I think it's a group that builds each other up. And they just understand the highs and lows of the game really well. They also have a ton of talent. They also have a very good hand-eye. They have, all those things. They work their butts off, all those things that line you up to handle that mental part of the game, and they handle it well. But I look at Gibby, and the difference this year is I think that she's incredibly sharp about the game. She prepares in a way that's perfect for her. And it's been a journey for that, but she's in a really good spot with that. And I just think that they just handle even the highs and lows within at bats really well. I mean, they can look silly on a pitch and then crush it for a double. And so it's just taking the information, and whether they do well or not, it really doesn't waver their confidence in who they are as hitters. So it's a really fun thing to be a part of as a coach, that's for sure.
And then how have your transfers, your new ones, kind of impacted this roster, whether that's in the locker room, at the plate, in the field? I know especially like KB and Taylor Ellsworth.
Well, they've been huge, obviously impact players on the field, but it's crazy how well they fit in character-wise and people-wise. They just fit in really well. And they have a very good way. They're here to win. They're here to be a part of this culture, a part of this team, and they're here to win. And so they do a really good job of demanding that from their teammates. And so I just can't say enough about what they've added to our team on and off the field.
Coach, I want to ask you. I mean, obviously, you talked about Gamble not being on the list, which has kind of shocked a lot of people that follow the sport closely. When something like that happens, do you talk to your players? You know, like make sure she's okay there. I mean, because I mean that was kind of a stunner for people that follow the sport. I mean, I thought she would be a top 10 consideration for Play of the Year. Do you talk to her, and when this happens, or in previous years with awards with other players?
Yeah, we do. A stunner is like the nicest way you can say it, Eric. I mean, she is top 5 in the country in OPS. Like she is the 5th best OPS in the country. And it's just crazy to me. And again, this isn't to discredit anybody on that list. I mean, look at the incredible list of athletes that they put together, but it blows my mind that Hannah's not on there. So yeah, we absolutely talk about it because I think that it deserved to be talked about with our team, and it's giving Gibby absolute. I mean, celebrating Gibby first and foremost. I mean, she deserves to be on that list too. Heck yeah, they're both having special years. So celebrating Gibby, and then also saying, I wholeheartedly believe in every ounce of my being that Hannah Gamble should be on that list. And so talking about it as a team, and then grabbing her on the side and just saying, you belong on the list. If I had a vote, you'd be, I mean, a lot of times they don't understand how that is created and so, or how that list, and sometimes I don't either, to be honest. There's so many different rankings and everything. So it's just acknowledging that, the level in which she has played all year, and just making sure she realizes that we see that, and it just crushes you as a coach when you look in her eyes and say you absolutely belong on that list. And I think she thinks she does. And so it just crushes you.
Yeah, and that's not including the defense she's played at third base. I mean, many would say she's maybe the best third baseman, if not the in the whole sport. Is that a flaw in the sport that we don't know exactly the criteria? Is that a frustrating thing that we don't really know how these selections are done? I mean, is
I'm
that
sure
something?
some do. No, I'll have to ask. My staff probably does. I don't know. I don't know who votes on it. I don't know that. I know, Eric, that you watch our games, and so it doesn't take long as someone of a fan of the sport, someone that's watched it closely. I know our opponents have a ton of respect for who Hannah Gamble is. In fact, they tell me in the scouting process and after just about how dynamic she is, how tough of an out, and some have even said, man, she's my favorite player. And that's a huge compliment from an opposing dugout. Obviously not your favorite to play against, but you just have so much respect for her talent and how she plays the game. And so, she's a sophomore. She'll have a chance at this, and I hope it fuels her fire. But holy moly, for her not to be on that list, it's just mind blowing to me.
Yeah.
And again, I need to say how proud I am of Gibby, and so I don't want that to get lost in it, because she absolutely deserves to be on that as well.
And Gibson, I'm sure in the past hasn't gotten the recognition, so that could be something too. The game of, like you said, down the road it passes. It's
Yeah,
frustrating.
I don't know what I mean. There's just times like weekly that we kind of rack our brain for like what some of our players have to do. And it's tough because when you really know analytics and you really look at it, and then you're looking at some lists or some awards that are given out, and it's not staying with the trend of where the sport's going, it's frustrating. It's really frustrating. I thought Lenny Malkin had an exceptional week this week across the board. I think what she did offensively was, I mean, maybe top in every line except average. And so, Grace. Yes, it was. I was trying to say it kind of nicely. But I just, we have to change with, just the production of what that entire line can do, and how they produce for their team. And again, I'll say it, Hannah Gamble is the 5th highest OPS in the country. And yes, I do think she is the best third baseman in the game.
Talking about Florida, obviously, as you've prepped for them, what do you see when you see the Gators on tape?
Oh, they're just complete. They always are. I know I said it earlier. They just play with this confidence about them. I think Tim and his staff do a really good job about that. They carry themselves like Florida always has. I think that they do a really good job of not giving more than you earn. I think they do a good job offensively of controlling their zones. They've always been incredibly disciplined. That's no different with this year. And they do a really good job situationally, both offensively and defensively. So it'll be interesting. It feels kind of like Kentucky, where we haven't played them in a while, and so it's just interesting just how our schedule's fallen, and with COVID, that you like so many times you just kind of track and you get used to like the other team and their players, and this feels a little newer to us. So it's been a fun week, scouting and getting ready, but it feels like a very new matchup for us.
This will be the first of 2 trips to Gainesville. Is there an advantage there, knowing that for the SEC tournament you'll be playing there and you get a chance to play on that field? Is that a factor at all that it helps down the road, or no?
We'll see at the SEC tournament. I hope we have a good weekend, and it sets us up to be even more confident in the SEC tournament. But yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I hope so.
Thanks, Coach.
Mm-hmm.
Got a
Hey,
couple here
Courtney.
for you.
Go ahead, Justin.
Just a couple I got for you here. We talked about that chip that your team plays with, maybe that you even coach with. Is that something that at some point you hope you get the respect that you've earned, or is that something you'd like to stick around because of how your team plays with that chip on their shoulder?
I have no problem having it. Because you could do everything right. You could do everything right as a coach. You can do everything right as a team, and you still can't control whether someone respects you as an opponent or as a coach or as a team. And so for us, that's not what we do anything for. I just hope that they look at Arkansas softball and think that we play high level softball and play the game the right way and are classy and do all those things that I think are really important. But yeah, I mean, I think that it's just another motivation more than anything. But again, I don't know. We don't sit here and just hope that someone respects us. We don't waste a lot of time on what people think about us outside of our circle. And I think that's why we are where we are. We didn't do that from day one getting here. But I do hope that this team, just kind of has that extra edge that wants to shove it a little bit,
And I want to ask you something about Gamble in a little bit of a different vein. How important has her, I'm going to use the term emergence, been, both for what your team's doing, but also considering after this year with what you're graduating, she's going to be one of those true cornerstones for you for the next couple of years? Well,
yeah, you're exactly right. What she's doing for us this year is huge. What she means to this program for the future is arguably even bigger, and what she's doing is already enormous. But yeah, I mean, and it's not just the talent, it's not how she plays. It's the maturity in which she continues to grow in the game and handle the game and take care of her teammates. And, a lot of times as freshmen, they are so worried about trying to get up to speed that they can't worry about anything beyond their own nose. And what she does for this team, in the locker room, in life, off the field and on the field, is going to be so critical to this team in the next couple years. So yeah, absolutely. And I think back to last year, because early in the year, I got the question of what's different with Hannah Gamble this year? What's changed? What's gotten better? And it's like, well, she wasn't injured for 6 weeks. I mean, this is exactly who we thought Hannah Gamble was in the recruiting process, what she had the potential to be, what I think she would have done last year. I don't know about, this special, I think she's having a tremendous year, but this is exactly who we thought she could be last year if she wouldn't have gotten hurt and missed some really critical games. And so, yeah, I'm really excited about Hannah Gamble as a player, but goodness gracious, you have the privilege to get to meet her. She just absolutely radiates positivity and love for her teammates, and that's what it's all about.
Last one for me. How's Shanice? Has she gotten better?
No, she's still puking a little bit. This is a bug that is, she's still fighting. She missed yesterday. She stayed home. She came and got a pen in today and then went back home. And so hopefully it's getting out of her system. But she is still fighting it. So we are hopeful she doesn't take it with her to Gainesville.
How much is that impacting your plans for Gainesville?
We'll see. I mean, she pitched throwing up on Sunday. She's about as tough as they come. So I'm not, she'll be fine. She's a competitor.
Hey, I just had one other, Courtney. I went digging into the archives to count up. You said it'd been a while since you'd played Florida. If my arithmetic's right, you've lost 30 in a row to the Gators. Were you aware of that?
No. That's probably bad math, Paul. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not. Hey, I'm better. I'm better with words than the numbers anyway. But hopefully,
I mean, we haven't beat them since I got here. I'm not worried about that going into the weekend. This team, I can tell you, is not worried about that. They're not worried about what Arkansas did against them in the past. Like, they're worried about how we're going to compete this weekend. So,
okay. All right. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Got any last questions?
I guess I got one more. The Saturday Sunday tournament after a tough game on Saturday night, a quick turnaround, bounce back and play the way you did. Speak to the character of this team, because a lot of teams, that Saturday loss could have lingered into Sunday and it could have lost the whole weekend. But your team responded a big time there. Speak to the leadership and the character of your team there. And Shanice was fantastic in that game.
Yeah, she really was. That's the thing I'm most proud about this team over the course of the year is when things go badly, they pony up, they get even closer, and they rise to the occasion. And this past weekend was no different. And we said that Saturday night. It's like, this one stung really bad. This one stung. But if there's one thing we've done all year really well, it's responded. And so that's what we have to look at, being better tomorrow and making sure it doesn't happen again. And, they met like themselves, just with the team, and just kind of, figured some stuff out, talked about it, but also just kind of didn't give it more weight than the one night. And I think great teams do that. It just fuels them to be better. It doesn't linger as creating any doubt or anything. I think they know that they're a good softball team, and they know that they just need to get right back on track and do that together.
Any last questions?